For 2 days, jurors have heard the details of how Michael Jackson allegedly molested a boy at his Neverland Ranch. And now they're getting to hear the boy's story firsthand. Prosecutors have called Jackson's accuser to the stand. He follows the testimony of his 14-year-old brother. Under tough questioning from Jackson's defense attorney, the brother's memories seem to fall apart little by little.
The defense is effectively dismantling this witness on the stand. We're hearing the story change. It's not simply a matter of memory being different. It's the story's different.
The boy told jurors he witnessed Jackson molest his brother 2 times, but today, out of the blue, he said it was 3 times. He was referring back to what he said in an interview with investigators. The boy said he was nervous then, and that's why he made the mistake. The teen also testified he witnessed the molestations from the stairs leading to Jackson's bedroom. But earlier, he reportedly told investigators that on the second occasion, he was pretending to be asleep on the couch. At that point, the prosecutor stood up and objected, telling the judge he could explain. The prosecutor later suggested to jurors that the boy was on the couch and did witness an incident that Jackson isn't formally charged with. The boy also contradicted testimony from his sister about where in Neverland Jackson allegedly gave them alcohol and what type it was. Now it's up to the accuser himself to bring credibility to his family and make the jury believe his story. Manuel Gallegos, CBS News, Santa Maria.
Michael Jackson's young accuser returns to the witness stand today after facing Jackson in court for the first time on Wednesday. CBS News correspondent Vince Gonzalez is live outside the courthouse in Santa Maria with more. Good morning, Vince.
Good morning, Julie. The teen who's accused Michael Jackson of molestation took the stand for the first time late yesterday. And after more than a year of waiting, the singer finally came face to face with his accuser.
They had this moment, where there was just this recognition. I mean, the people in the courtroom were jumping out of their seats.
The teen, whose identity we're protecting, told District Attorney Tom Sneddon Michael Jackson was the one who suggested he and his brother sleep in the singer's bedroom at the Neverland Ranch. He said, quote, "Michael said we should sleep in his room with him, and I was like, yeah, because we wanted to sleep in his room. And he said, ask your parents." The accuser testified his parents gave their okay, and the boys spent many nights with Jackson. During the day, Jackson took the young cancer patient on Neverland's attractions. On the first night, the teen said the singer and an associate showed him and other children internet porn.
This jury, they're hard to read, but you could see in that moment that the jury did not like hearing these stories coming out of this kid's mouth.
The teen will be closely watched to see if his testimony matches what he told a grand jury last year. Then he couldn't fully remember details of the alleged molestation at Neverland because he says he was intoxicated.
His credibility is all that the prosecution has in this case.
Defense attorney Tom Mesereau has already gotten the accuser's family members to admit they lied in the past and caught them in conflicting statements, as he did with the accuser's younger brother yesterday.
It's not simply a matter of memory being different. It's the story's different.
Things are also different at Jackson's Neverland Ranch. CBS News has been told yesterday several employees took part in a sick-out because they have not been paid. The singer's financial troubles could also become an issue in this trial. Julie?
Vince Gonzalez in Santa Maria. Thanks a lot, Vince.
Michael Jackson came face-to-face with his accuser for the first time in court on Wednesday. The 15-year-old boy began testimony about his relationship with a pop star and is expected back on the witness stand today. Attorney Ann Bremner was in court when the boy took the stand, and defense attorney Mickey Sherman is a CBS News legal analyst. And good morning to both of you. Ann, I want to start with you. What was the impact of the boy's testimony yesterday? How did the jury seem to react to his about 1 hour of testimony?
Well, there was kind of a hush as he took the stand. He came in he was announced and then walked in, and there was a little bit of a delay, so there was so much anticipation for this witness that everyone listened very carefully to him. He was very appropriate as a witness, and the jurors took a lot of notes and paid keen attention. There were even some indulgent smiles from some of the jurors when the judge said, "Scoot up to the microphone," and he talked too loudly into it. So it was quite an intense hour yesterday at the end of the day of court here in the Michael Jackson case.
And Ann, what were your observations about Michael Jackson and his reaction coming face-to-face with his accuser for the first time?
Everybody, the minute that the accuser sat down, everyone would watch him and then watch Michael Jackson and then watch him and watch Michael Jackson. And I think that Michael Jackson was probably instructed to not react, but he did. He looked at the accuser a number of times, even in the very beginning, and then he did this short rocking in his chair a couple of times. But other than that, he was straight up looking right at the accuser throughout all of the testimony, and it had to be a pretty tough day for him, I'm sure. But he didn't react demonstrably in any way, beyond what I just described.
Certainly, Mickey, he's come a long way from moonwalking on the SUV. He appears to be very sort of well-behaved in court, doesn't he?
Yeah, and you're kind of damned either way. If you look at the victim too much, then you're accused of eyeballing him and staring him down. If you don't look, then you're afraid to look at him. So the juries love to interpret these things and micro-analyze it way beyond anyone's imagination.
How critical is this accuser's testimony in terms of the prosecution? Does he have to come across as credible and believable? And what is the defense looking for?
It's way beyond critical. This is the case. This is the state's case. It's going to be the next couple of days when this young man is on the stand. They either win the case or lose the case with this young man. I know there's other evidence. Tom Snedden's got 87 more witnesses. God knows what they're going to talk about. But this is the line in the sand that they've got to draw.
It's interesting, Ann, because yesterday he corroborated his brother's testimony about watching these internet porn sites in Jackson's bedroom. Today we're going to see him back on the stand, and we're going to get to the heart of the case here, which is the molestation charge. But the brother testified that he was asleep as this molestation was happening. How much is the accuser actually going to be able to recall about the molestation incidents?
Well, he did recall it in the grand jury testimony, and so he'll testify to it here. He described some detail at grand jury. And the question here really is whether or not, with this witness, I agree completely with Mickey. Is this the beginning of the end for Michael Jackson? And is this the end of a bad beginning for the prosecution? Because they've kind of been one step up and two steps back. This complainant is a good witness, and we'll see how he does today when he has to talk about the true facts of the case.
Is it possible, Mickey, that if this goes well for the accuser, if his testimony is believable and credible, as you said, that we are going to see the 1993 case come to light here? And how important is that?
I don't know that one has anything to do with the other. I think that's totally...
Some people are drawing that line.
Yeah, it's totally a call on the part of the judge as to whether or not it's relevant material. The question is, will they need it? If this young man is that credible. But then again, that's up to the jury to decide whether or not he's that credible. I think Tom Mesereau has a very fine line to walk, because no matter which way you look at it, this kid, even if he makes mistakes in his testimony, he's still a victim. He's either a victim of his own family, he's a victim perhaps of Michael Jackson, and he's a victim of cancer. So you really can't beat up on him too much.
So that makes him very sympathetic to the jury,
Totally sympathetic. And so he's allowed, and plus his youth is going to allow him to make a lot of mistakes, but not too many mistakes. If he starts getting things really wrong, or it appears as though he's consciously making a mistake or stretching the truth, that's some trouble.
And what do you think we'll see today? Because tomorrow there's no testimony, so the jury faces a 3-day weekend to really think about things. Will Tom Snedden try to keep the accuser on the stand and maybe drop something really emotional at the end of the day?
Absolutely. He wants this 3-day weekend for the jury to have time to think about the testimony of this young complainant. He does not want to have Mesereau's cross-examination ringing in the ears of the jurors throughout the weekend. I mean, I've said before, I think Mesereau's mesmerizing. He's excellent. And so far, he's done a lot of damage to the first two witnesses, the siblings of the accused. Or the accuser, excuse me. So I think he's sure going to try to keep him up as long as he can.
All right, Ann Bremner, thanks so much. Mickey Sherman, thanks as well.
Thank you.
Good to see you both again.
Michael Jackson came close to being locked up today after he failed to show up for court on time. The judge said he would arrest the superstar if he didn't turn up within 60 minutes.
The court gave the defendant a very short window of 1 hour because he's local at a hospital getting his back checked.
Jackson's attorney said his client's back problem is a serious one. While all this was happening, Jackson's young accuser waited, ready to testify for a second day. On the first day of testimony, the boy, a cancer survivor, said Jackson first befriended him while he was in the hospital and invited him to Neverland Ranch. On one visit, he told the court Jackson suggested he and his younger brother sleep with the singer in his bedroom. They started out watching cartoons, but soon, the teen claims, they looked on as Jackson and an associate surfed the internet for pornographic websites. The boy recalls Jackson's small children were sleeping nearby, and at one point he says, quote, Michael leaned over and said, Prince, you're missing all this.
You could just see the disapproving looks on their faces. I mean, they did not want to hear that story, and they did not like hearing it.
Michael Jackson appeared distressed and disheveled, according to some court observers, appearing in what looked like his pajama pants. His handler said he had been rushed to the hospital about 5:30 this morning, rushed to the emergency room, hoping to get some muscle relaxant for his bad back. His entourage was clocked at about 90 miles an hour on the freeway, trying to get here to meet that deadline.